Hello, everybody. My name is Jo Formosa from Health Dynamics, and I have been joined by the beautiful Kylee Ratz, who is one of our clients who has gone through an amazing health journey. And in one of our, last blogs and newsletters and different things that we discuss, we talked about the health spectrum. And the health spectrum is a level in the lighthouse of moving yourself up or down the spectrum. Obviously, you want to move yourself up, not necessarily move yourself down. But I thought it's always really good to hear this type of analogy with a real case story. So Kylee has a really great, amazing story to tell. So Kylee, welcome to this information on the health spectrum. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
Perfect. So I'm just going to share my screen. And inside of it first, Kylee, we'll just look through the actual health spectrum. So the health spectrum is 9 levels of health, and it's like a lighthouse. So we're looking at the 6 levels of diseases from accumulation downwards. And the 6 levels of disease, if you want to know more about this, then watch the episode on the health spectrum because you'll see a little bit more about it. But we are all aiming for good health. So this is really when you're in a mindfulness prison, and your mind makes a massive difference with this. If you're in accumulation, like blue level, it means you are getting some signs that there is something wrong. It's some warning sign. Like, if you're driving your car and you get this little flash of light, it's sort of telling you something is wrong. We tend to ignore that, until we're, on the side of the road. Oh, maybe I should have dealt with that. Green level, it starts to aggravate. So it starts to accumulate with what we call dosha. So vata dosha, it'll accumulate with air. So it'll cause things like constipation and dryness. Burping can cause all sort of bloating and things like that. If it accumulates with pitta, it's accumulated with heat, so it's causing inflammation, reflux, indigestion, loose stools. Or if it's accumulated with kapha, it's like nausea or feeling of like not hungry and things like that. So again, it's still more digestive level. Then once it gets to the digestive system, your body says, if I stay here much longer, I'm going to get sick. So it spreads it and moves it through your lymphatic system and starts dumping it into your tissue. So this is when you feel tired, fatigue. You got so many symptoms going on. You actually don't know. When you hear Kylie's story, you'll hear her explain this. You don't really know what is going on, and you don't even know where to start. Then localize, it can localize in a weak area of your body. So in Kylie's case, you'll hear in a moment, it was skin, it can be digestive system, it can be joints, weakness, and all sorts of things. Then at disease level, doctors are actually saying you have a diagnosed disease and they've got something to name it. And normally they give you some sort of medicine to try to dampen the symptom. Infrared is chronicity. So it's now like turning on itself. So it's like cancer, autoimmune disease. So Kylee, just inside of this conversation, when we very first met, how long ago was that?
Gosh, that was June, July last year.
Okay, so June, July last year, you came in because what was going on for you?
So there were so many things, but the one reason that I came in was I had this crazy rash. I knew I was menopausal. Didn't really know what menopause meant to my body, but I'd put on weight. I had a rash. I just had so many little issues that I wasn't the best version of myself, and I was constantly tired.
So when you said put on weight, how much weight we're talking?
Do you mean to what I weigh now, or just?
Well, for you, I know because I told you a weight that I think you need to
Yes.
lose, but you had put on for your, because we can come to that. What did you think you had put on in that period?
I thought I probably needed to lose about 8 to 10 kilos.
8 to 10 kilos. Okay. So you had weight, 8 to 10 kilos. For everybody, this is spreading, right? So weight is moving lymphatic toxins and it's then localizing into the fat tissue. So weight is actually a symptom of toxicity, basically. So Kylee had that. Then she had all these menopausal symptoms. And one particularly, she didn't even know was menopausal, was rash all over her whole entire body. Tell us a little bit about that. Like what happened when you got this rash and what were you taking around that period of time?
Oh, sorry, Jo, I lost you for 2 seconds there.
Yeah, lost me. Yeah. So what happened when you got this rash? What happened around that period of time when you realized, and what were you given for that?
From you or from
No, from Western.
doctors?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was itchy, it was all over my body. We tried a whole lot of different baths. They were suggesting Condy's crystals. I was in all sorts of pine tassel, but everything that you could try, I tried. Nothing was moving it. And because it was constantly itchy and it was really unattractive, it was actually really beginning to affect me as far as how I presented myself.
Yeah, and people come to us, by the way, if you're watching this, you go get some help when there is pain that you can't handle, loss of function, so something is not working, and vanity, right? So there could be a rash on your body, but as soon as it moves somewhere that someone can see, then someone does something about that. I think you were suffering like with also a lot of anxiety and stress and nervous system issues, and I think you said to me, like, your husband said, I've lost a girl. I don't know who she
Yeah,
is.
I had no spark. It was just, everything I was doing was a chore.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have a look at when I very first met Kylie, you had a look at what we call the laundry list of all the symptoms that she had, right? I remember having a conversation with Kylie. At that point, she had menopause. So she was given, so in Western medicine, they sort of will class menopause as a disease, but it's actually not a disease. So they gave Kylie estrogen medication at that point. And I remember going through like her rash and all these different things. And I said to her, can you remember what I said to you?
Yeah, you said I'd seen you, I'd done my first consult and we'd started some herbs and I was starting to see a bit of a difference. And you actually said to me, I don't think the estrogen patch is helping. I'm not suggesting that it's what's causing the rash, but it just doesn't sit right with me.
Mm.
Do you think you'd be prepared to trust me and work with me? And let's get you off that and find herbs to deal with symptoms that are associated with your menopause rather than putting extra estrogen into your body.
Yeah. So then at that point, we got Kylie off, taking this. And for some people, estrogen, if you don't metabolize it very well, it causes a lot of problems in the liver. The liver affects the blood affects the skin. So I knew if I could clear that out of Kylie's system, I would be dealing with a symptomatic effect that was happening sort of at this lower level. And there was no way I was going to get her to heal and repair. So very first thing we did is we had to work with where the imbalances were. We had to treat her skin. We had to work with herbs and treatments over her body to basically flush that out. We got through that, Kylie. Then what happened? What did we do after that?
You did. And then I joined you on retreat.
Okay.
And am I jumping too far forward?
No, you go. We did detox first or not?
No,
We did
because of the
retreat
timing
first.
of when I saw you, and by the time we got all of the data back from my testing,
Yeah.
it was pretty much in line with going to retreat. So I got the benefit of doing a retreat that actually kickstarted my whole detox. So whilst I was in Bali with you, we were only able to do, in the beginning, we were only able to do certain sorts of treatments because there was so much heat in my body and we had to be careful with the rash. We'd seen the rash definitely change in the interim between when we first started the herbs and even the CCF. Like the CCF made a massive difference, just flushing out my system. As we went on, obviously eating detox protocol foods and doing a little bit more mindfulness and the art of living, which I'm sure you'll talk about in another situation, but my body started to begin to heal. So much so to the point that by the time we finished, you were able to do treatments on me that we originally thought were not going to be possible. And across all of that, we started to watch the weight start to shift, the rash start to go, a little more clarity starting to come back. Like there were so many changes. And again, obviously being on retreat, being able to bring those practices back, because I'd had 7 full days of that, made it really easy. And it made the process and the protocol, when I got home, something that I could continue on to finish that month. And I felt like a different person.
Yeah, and I think we continued the detox while you were back, right? Because you actually said to yourself, I've done this to myself for the last 20 to 30 years. I know that if I don't take the time now, that it's going to just continue. So you actually made that lifestyle change to make the shift, right? So
absolutely, it had to. I knew that there wasn't looking good ahead.
So just so you know, when Kylie first saw us, like, whining and dining and, socializing and stuff was like a massive big part of her life, which is a big part of a lot of people's lives. But this accumulated toxin started to aggravate her system and go deeper and deeper and deeper. And with stress and, parenting and all the different things that life brings, especially in the change of season of menopause, and cortisol imbalance, like, all those types of things have to be worked on. So what Kylie was talking about when she came to the retreat, we deep dived and we cleansed her at a very deep level. We started to soften, loosen, and mobilize the toxins. We started to eliminate it through the digestive system. We started moving her way up the spectrum. So as you were moving up the spectrum, Kylie, after the retreat, and then coming into like this year now, 2024, where were you at, would you say, here on the spectrum?
I think we were really starting to move me back up the health spectrum. I was feeling great. I had so much more energy. You had suggested that I needed to move more, and I'd never been somebody who particularly enjoyed a lot of exercise, and certainly not the gym.
Yeah.
By the time we got to sort of middle of March, I had, I was 3 or 4 days at the gym, whether it was Pilates or doing weights, but working with a trainer. I was feeling pretty like the best I've felt for a very long time.
Yeah, right. So,
And I was
would
watching
you
my weight.
stay close to like indigo level, like good health?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So if we're looking at like good health and you're at indigo level, and so by the way, when people get to this point as well, they're like, everything is working. I feel good. I feel more in control. You had the detoxification, food dialed in for your body type. You're exercising for your body type. You're getting stronger. You're moving, and everything was great. At that point, right, we were doing some treatments. We were doing some rejuvenation treatments, and I said to Kylie, "Hey, listen, I've got to train some team. Can you come into the clinic so we can use you as a body so I can train some team? Because you've had a few treatments, you'd be able to give that feedback." So what happened then?
So I will never forget this day for as long as I live. It was International Women's Day, and I snuck down for the afternoon, and Joe was teaching one of the other therapists how to do a mama point massage. And we were working our way through, and she was underneath the mama point under my arm and asked me, "How long have you had this lump?" And I, of course, said, "What lump?" Thinking, it can't be anything because I feel amazing. I'm looking like my old self. Everything's great. Joe gently suggested that perhaps I might like to just see my GP and get it checked out. And from that stage, pretty quickly, we realised that it needed to have an ultrasound. And unfortunately, when it had an ultrasound, we realised it was a lymph node, so it needed a biopsy. And we went very, very quickly from me thinking that I was in the peak of physical fitness to being diagnosed with an estrogen positive HER2 breast cancer.
So Kylie says, I said gently, I said, you need to go see your GP tomorrow.
Yeah, it was, you kept the alarm out of your voice, but were very very insistent that a doctor needed to be seen.
Yeah, so I mean, Kylie in herself was feeling good health, right? Because everything she was doing was working really, really well. We found this lump and immediately she went into chronicity overnight, right? So because the awareness and also the pathology actually gave that information. Now, what was interesting is that Kylie went and she had a full PET scan. And in the PET scan, so if some of you don't know, it actually is looking for like, hotspots and, dyes going through your system, and it will light up to where those cancer sites are. The cancer sites lit up in the lymph, but did not light up anywhere else, right? So they could not find the primary site. So these doctors were baffled. They're like, this is what's going on. This is weird. Why can't we find the primary site? And then what happened after that, Kylie?
So we then had to have conversations about what we were going to do because of not being able to find the primary. As Joe said, it made no sense. So I met with a breast surgeon who advised me that we were going to have to meet had to embark upon some chemotherapy and some immunotherapy, and that more than likely we would have to have a conversation about a double mastectomy. So it was pretty confronting situation. And I didn't feel sick at no stage of this. I honestly felt like I was truly in my best health. So it was pretty confronting to go through all of that. The oncologist worked a public holiday to see me. They were quite very proactive in working really fast, again, because it was classed as a metastatic breast cancer, basically suggesting that it had spread, even though we couldn't find the primary. We then embarked on 14 weeks of chemotherapy every week. Every third week was immunotherapy with the chemotherapy. I'd had to talk to Joe about the fact that I couldn't really control a lot, but one of the things I wanted to try and control was the narrative around I wasn't actually sick. Yes, I might have had a disease, but I didn't want the whole world to be pitying me and feeling sorry for me. So I decided I was going to try a treatment that's called cold cap therapy, which meant if all worked out well, I wouldn't lose my hair. It was the one thing that I could bump into people and have them, if I was feeling well on that particular day, no one had to know what I was going. It was just something for me personally. Had I have lost my hair, so be it. It's a price to pay when you're going forward to try and basically save your life. After we finished the chemotherapy, we typically do 12 weeks of chemotherapy. My oncologist decided that because I was tolerating it well, she'd give me 2 more weeks, 14 weeks, to make sure that they'd really, really eradicated what they could. We saw a massive reduction in the tumor. The whole time we did this, I was told maybe I shouldn't be taking herbs. I had a long conversation with Joe, and I felt that because of all of the work that we'd done previously, I wasn't ready to turn my back on that. So I asked the pharmacist and the oncologist, what is it that you're worried about in these herbs that I should be having that might lessen the chance of chemo working? They couldn't really explain a lot to me beyond perhaps turmeric. So Joe gave me the documentation so that we could actually present every ingredient that was in each herb that I was taking. And I was on quite a few herbs at that stage. She then consulted with her group of practitioners. We removed some things, but I stayed on my herbs the entire way through my chemo. I very rarely, and I think I was exceptionally lucky, but we'd worked on my mindset. We'd worked on what herbs I was taking. I religiously took my CCF. I did everything I could do so that when my body was being punished with all of these chemicals, that we were keeping it as well as possible. And I still think to this day, I managed to get through that because of the work that we'd done previously. Had it have happened to me back in the June, July, the year before when I first met Joe, I don't know that I would have been as resilient and robust in my physical health as I was.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing, chemotherapy, especially 14 weeks, you're putting a huge amount of chemicals in your system. What normally happens is a lot of side effects and losing your hair because it's intense heat. So we managed that with Kylee, and she very rarely, I think there was one day in the whole thing where you didn't feel so good, but most of the time Kylee was acting like nothing was sort of going, except for she had to go to the hospital to have chemotherapy. Right?
I felt like an imposter, to be honest. It only became real when I sat in the chemo chair.
So the chemo happened, there was 14 weeks, then they had to have a little bit of break, and then they did double mastectomy, right? They were excited about doing double mastectomy. You weren't so much, but they were, because they wanted to find the primary site. So they're like, once we dissect it, we'll know. And then they did that, no primary site.
Found nothing. So it was a mystery.
And so Kylee went so well, her results were so good that the doctors were like, we don't need to do 6 weeks of radiation. We only need to do 3 weeks now. So Kylee went from this thought of, oh my goodness, 6 weeks to 3 weeks. She thought she was going to get all of this adverse reaction of radiation. We gave her a special cream. We gave her special herbs through the thing, and you got very minimal reaction to that, right?
Yeah.
Again, you thought
it's amazing.
So weird.
Everybody talks about the radiation rash, and I've got apparently, according to the radiation oncologist, the most minimal reaction to it. So
you've got to remember, this person, Kylee, had severe rashes when she came to us. So she has a weakness in her skin tissue, right? So if she was going to get anything, then that was sort of going to be happening, right? So Kylee, so just to cut a long story, well, we could keep going on because this is a really unbelievable transformation where Kylee had where she was at. She got diagnosed. She went down into the chronicity. She has been working through very clean diet all the way through the whole process. She now has like completely different body. You have lost how much weight in the whole process?
20 kilos.
20 kilos. Now, it's not because she had cancer that she lost weight. It's because she has cleaned her body up. She has lost the toxins that she's lost weight. And what did you say the other day about what was your saying about being skinny? Nothing
I
tastes.
said, well, I now tell everybody that you can eat yourself well. That's probably one of the most important things that I've learned,
Yeah.
to listen to your body. But I now have the opinion that obviously I'm eating to eat myself well, but also nothing tastes as good as feeling fit and healthy feels.
Totally, totally. And I want to show you one other thing as we're sharing the screen. So Kylie's been moving her way up. We've been working a lot on her mindset because mindset creates all the changes within your body. But these are Kylie's last blood results, right? So if you have a look here, when I very first met Kylee and I saw her bloods, we're looking at all the blood levels and we're looking at, the protein. We're looking at definitely look at all the liver. So Kylee, 24, 24, 24, all of these issues were all liver problems. And then we started working with her throughout this whole process. These are her last bloods. September 24, she's been through chemo, she's been through radiation, she's been through double mastectomy operations, and her liver is the best it's ever been, right? She has got on the second page, there is some issues with she has had issues of low immunity. Now, definitely the chemotherapy and all the immunotherapy does hit your immune system pretty hard, but that's easy for us to manage, right? So that we definitely know that can pull up, but that just shows you how your blood shows you disease process and what Kylee has done even through this whole journey. She is moving herself up to good health. And the whole thing will be how she manages herself forward now, knowing that the health spectrum at any time can make you go from one thing to another. You could be at good health 1 minute, you can be at chronicity the next. But if you don't see those warning signs and make those changes and makes the shifts, the chronicity can be the thing that is like where you stay, right? So Kylee, what would you say to people, just that journey and understanding the health spectrum? What would be your thing of what you have learned through this journey? And what would be the thing that you would say to people who, maybe a bit confused or don't know where they're at or what to do?
I have learnt so much, Jo, and I think I've said this to you, and I actually say it to anybody who asks me how I managed to do what I do, that I had a whole lot of help between some of the things that I always felt that I had a positive mindset, but I also didn't really understand, and I am acutely aware now because I now feel it in my body, that how much my thoughts drove my feelings and what those feelings did to my body. So if I was getting myself into a negative headspace and I would start to feel anxious, I would feel that heat come back in my body. So I'm acutely aware now that I need to go back to my thought to change my feeling. And I bang on about that. My kids will tell you that's all they ever hear. But also the fact that you have to nourish your body. And if you eat well, and you don't have to do it. I think, Jo, you said to us all at the beginning, you don't have to do this 7 days a week. You could choose to do it 2 days a week or 5 days a week. But once you actually start to understand what that's doing to your body and what your body is then capable of, we've set some pretty crazy goals for what I hope to be able to lift as far as being in the gym and what I want to be able to achieve from a strength perspective. I just learned that I should appreciate my body a lot more, and it deserves to be fed both mentally and nutritionally properly.
And I think too, one thing that you said, which really stuck to me, is that what you also learned is you have one life.
Yes,
right?
I think I was so, I honestly believe I thought I was invincible. I thought that the type of lifestyle that I was living was, I don't think longevity I've ever really understood the word until my health was really compromised and I needed to find ways of trying to get back. And I honestly can say I am loving the journey that I am on, and I know I've got ways to get back to where we got me to. But to think that all of this has gone on in the side and I can still feel as good as I feel, it's pretty amazing.
And I think the wonderful thing that I've seen with Kylie is, as she has learned this in the journey, yes, when she first came to us, she was just, get me out of the symptom, get me out of this pain and suffering. And I think if we had just got her to that, but she didn't see the shift of where she could really be, then she might have stopped there, right? But then also getting the disease diagnosis actually made her really take it to the full advantage. But now Kylie, her husband, her daughters, anyone who crosses Kylie's path, she is on a warpath to make sure people are healthy and well and taking really good care.
Absolutely. It's so easy when you know how.
Yeah. Amazing. Kylie, thank you so much for your insight and your journey. And you are just a light, right? And I just, think what you have achieved and your dedication, your mindset, the way that you have taken it on is definitely a whole tribute to why you've done this so well. So
Thank you. And I'll say it for the record, for the recording. I say it to Jo every time I talk to her. I would not have been able to have done what I've done without her. Hence the reason that sometimes it's almost like I'm walking around with a sandwich board advertising Jo, because she's changed my life forever. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, honey. Thank you.
Bye.